Stephen Rose, welcome to the Cassius Morris Show.
Thanks for having me, man.
Hey, my brother, thank you for coming on. It's been a little while. We scheduled this in 2019. It's 2020. How's the year starting off for you so far? How you been?
I'm doing really well, man.
Doing
Yeah,
good?
very excited. Very excited. A lot of good
Likewise.
things happening.
Yeah, you got things going with the music. And I guess obviously just to jump right in, you're a member of the group Bong Hits for Jesus.
hmm
Uh, Tell me a little bit about the group for somebody who maybe isn't as familiar.
Bong Hits for Jesus is sort of like a reggae rock, bluesy kind of jack of all trades band, kind of blending a lot of different genres. And it's maybe 60-70% humorous, and then also kind of we can lean into like political a little bit once in a while as well. The live show is mainly just a big party. That's kind of like the whole thing, is to have fun, let loose, get rid of any of the restrictions that we got to deal with during the day.
Yeah.
Been around. We're based out of the Philadelphia area, and we've been around going on 14 years.
Wow. That's
Yeah,
a big long run.
it sounds crazy even saying it.
Seriously. And you're a member of the Joey Diaz church family, correct?
Oh yes, big
Mm.
fan.
How'd
Big
you
fan.
how'd you discover Joey?
Joey was, I mean, I guess like a lot of people, when I started to move away from like getting my entertainment through just cable television and moving over to the YouTube life and that whole world of, commercial free, open form entertainment, it started with Rogan,
Hmm.
and then as he had these guests on, I gravitate pretty quickly to the comedians that he has as guests. I enjoy a lot of the other guys too, but I just kind of got engrossed in that world as what I would do at the end of the day, is just checking out podcasts. And Joey Diaz, a Jersey guy. I'm a Jersey guy, and he has roots in Jersey as well. I kind of related to him a little bit
Hmm.
early on.
Were
And so
you
yeah,
but you
I
were
don't.
born in Philadelphia?
I was born in New Jersey. That's where I'm at right now.
Mm.
But so close to Philly, it's a 10-minute ride.
Right.
So we're, myself and the bassist who I co-founded the band with. Yeah, we both grew up right outside of Philadelphia. So even as teenagers, it was as simple as taking a train over and hanging out in Philly. So we kind of staked claim to that as home base once we started to grow the band. And a few of the other members are actually Philly natives.
Okay.
So there's South Jersey is definitely is in the orbit of Philadelphia, and then North Jersey is like Joey Diaz's home, is the New York City kind of suburb.
Right. See, I forget that because here where I'm at in Canada, the closest, and it's not even considered a major city, but to be technical, the closest major city is an hour and a half away by car, and then the other really big one is 3 hours away by car. So it's like I know that in an area like that, everything's really close and nicely situated, right?
We can get to two, three. We can get to at least four, maybe five major cities that I can think of off the top of my head in under 2 hours. It's
Wow.
it's it's bananas. It's pretty crazy. But 20 minutes south of me is just wide open farmland too. So
Right.
it's like the
There's
best
so
of
much
both
around
worlds.
there.
Yeah, it really is. It's cool. I can dig it. But yeah, so Joey Diaz, I kind of gravitated to like his roots and the stories he would tell. He does an episode of Ryan Sickler's Honeydew podcast
Hmm.
where he tells this whole long story about having to go to Catholic school and the nuns and just like all the antics he went through in that phase, like because like right as he was starting to get into his teenage years,
Right.
and it sounded like a page out of the book I grew up in. It was like it's pretty wild. So,
Did
and
you
that
sort of
was
grow up in a rough area?
I wouldn't say rough area, no, but definitely still adjacent. So it wasn't too hard to find trouble to get into when we wanted to.
Right.
So, and Catholic school was part of my history too.
Hmm.
So, yeah, there's a lot of parallels there that I related to.
Do you
So
find?
that's also how we found the Cassius Morris show. So I'm
Hey, there you go.
pretty happy about that.
Hey, shout out to Joey for that. Yeah, always showing love for sure.
Yeah.
So, do you find that, like in terms of music, what's the biggest scene like that's sort of growing in New Jersey right now, and how is it compared to when you were first coming up in that music climate out there?
It's changed a lot.
Has it?
Changed a lot because of just technology. I mean, I was able to see. I was able to see things evolve from pre-internet to post.
Hmm.
So when we started playing in bands, um, there's kind of two scenes happening in this area, Philadelphia, the Jersey Shore, and all that kind of happen next to each other and coexist. And it's really comes down to original music versus playing top 40 cover songs.
Okay.
And the strange thing about it is that some really big names have come out of New Jersey historically, and even a little more recently out of Philadelphia as well. But when I started, it was the '90s. It was the grunge era, and so there were a lot of original artists who were just kind of grunge copycats.
Hmm.
And then there were the bands that went out and played the nightclubs at the shore. And it's odd because those guys work more steadily and earn a better living in this area than the original artists that are coming up. You could put a lot of time into it and get some notoriety and have some success playing your own material. But the guys that get into that other scene, they trade off. In some sense, I guess they trade off a little bit of artistic integrity,
Right.
but to stay working, they stay working. Some of them do 7, 8 shows a week.
Because it'll
Also,
never go out of style, the oldies.
because they're always just keeping up with what's already current. Yeah.
True,
So it's
true.
interesting. Now things are you can kind of, if you look hard enough, you can find anything that you are looking for. There's a scene, like there's basement shows and house shows. Philadelphia's home to a lot of pretty prominent schools. Excuse me. You got Temple and Drexel and Penn State, and UPenn, and all of them have a pretty vibrant art scene, as any kind of college town does. So you can go find a certain style and a certain vibe in that world, or there's still a lot of like hard rock kind of metal scene. It's a little bit of everything, really, to be
Hmm.
honest with you. But there's not like one voice that everybody gets behind. So as back as the 1970s, like Philadelphia was all about soul. I mean, Philadelphia
Yeah.
International and Gamble and Huff. I mean, that like put the city on the map musically at the time. And then things evolve and move on. I wouldn't say there's one particular thing. It's just different.
Yeah.
It's spread out. It's a little more about what you want to go seek out and find, rather than these things that are made available to you.
It sounds eclectic.
It is. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. There's variety, and in a city like Philadelphia, it's like little brother to a city like New York. So you still get all those options and that vibe that you might be looking for, without feeling like you're kind of getting lost in the throngs of people. It's small
Mm.
enough that it's still kind of, yeah, you can still be comfortable.
And you can
Uh,
go there quickly if you want to get to something bigger.
yeah. Well, yeah, it's like an hour and a half from Philly to New York. You can get there in an hour and a half. You could take a $10 megabus or something to get there if you wanted
See,
to.
that's quick to me.
Yeah, right,
Like I
right.
say about the perspectives. That's crazy, man. Yeah, I mean that's interesting. It sort of sounds kind of like where I'm at in terms of there being an eclectic base of different types of sounds, and not being, like you said, one sort of voice or driving force that people really push and are all sort of behind. Like this is our sound, so to speak. And it seems like they sort of had more of that back in the classic days, like you were mentioning. But you mentioned Christian school. Um, how did that element sort of play out for you? Because you sort of mentioned it sort of tongue in cheek. And did the Christian music ever come into play for you, or was that something you avoided?
No, it was specifically Catholic school, and
Catholic
the
school.
music in Catholic school is, that's like the one division of Christianity where they made sure that they were either trying to make you afraid or put you to sleep with their.
Okay, right.
That's like the stuff you hear in movies where it's just like choirs going oh, and everything's in a minor key, and
Mm,
it's depressing for me.
right.
And I mean I guess I guess I'm glad because in some senses they kind of their curriculum is a little more advanced and I had some more opportunities like with my education going there, but they are also cramming their religion down your throat in a way that's really it just gets to you after a while. So
Yeah.
I kind of parted ways with all of that after high school.
Right. So
Yeah,
you wanted the opposite of what you were getting.
100%.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a lot I could go into about that era, like when you're getting out of high school and kind of deciding what direction you want to go. I don't want to. I'll save you the gory details, but I went into just like complete rebellion mode, and I wound up getting myself into a lot of trouble, as a matter of fact. And it really kind of parallels that Joey Diaz story. You know, I spent time away. I was committing crimes. I was doing all kinds of crazy shit. And
You don't
then,
really talk about it?
well, I never really have had the opportunity to, like publicly, but I'm not shy about it.
So what type of stuff?
I was doing harder drugs that were no good for you. I was doing a lot of cocaine and um, didn't have the income to support it, and I wound up getting caught stealing. I was stealing from people's houses, and that was kind of the end of it. All
Right.
that, all that, and like a short jail sentence. All by the time I was 22.
Wow.
So coming home, I kind of like had the chance to regroup and find some way to live in the middle of either
Mm-hmm.
how I grew up versus where I landed. And that's when we started the band and really started pushing the arts and like going forward a little bit more aggressively as far as original music, playing rock and roll.
Hmm. Very
So,
interesting.
I spent a good portion of my life listening all about Jesus, and then spent a lot of years after that taking bong hits. And
Right.
so it's
So
pretty
that's where the name
qualified.
comes from.
Pretty cool. No, it's not where the name
No.
comes from. I'm just qualified
You're qualified to call it
to
that.
speak on both. No, the name comes from a Supreme Court free speech case in the U.S. It began in 2002, and then by 2006, this thing went all the way to Supreme Court, and it was about a high school kid, and it had to do with his rights to free speech, students' rights to free speech versus what the teachers in the school had, like how much leverage they had to squash free speech for their own system and their own safety. It was a pretty
Hmm.
interesting case, and as soon as I think my buddies and I wrote our first song and didn't have a name for the band yet, and saw the article that was written about that, and we kind of didn't even have to say anything. We just kind of knew, oh, that's the name of the band for
Right.
sure.
It just stuck out.
It just worked. But that's worth a Google search if any of your listeners want to check out the Bong Hits for Jesus court case.
The
Pretty.
Supreme Court case. That is interesting. And so you mentioned that coming out of that sort of period of time in your life, that's when the music really came into play. So what's a short jail sentence? Are we talking a year or less than that?
I did a year to the day.
And you were what, 21?
I was 18 when I was charged, and then litigated for 4 years. So I was 20. I was like 22, and then was home when I was 23.
Okay.
Excuse me, before I have a beverage here.
You're good. And did you learn anything from that experience, or was there anything
Absolutely.
like what types of things?
Humility.
Hmm.
That was I can only equate it to when someone gets out of school and is kind of doesn't have much direction and maybe joins the military or something to that effect, because for all intents and purposes it's the same kind of experience. Everyone has to wake up at the same time. Everyone has to make their bed. You're sharing room with other guys. You know what I mean? It's like
Mm-hmm.
it was similar, and it wasn't a dangerous place for me to be. It was state prison, but it was not. They have their system down well enough that they're grouping people together that are there on for similar reasons. So there's just a
Right.
lot of other kids that got caught up in drugs and stuff like that, and Nothing too bad though. Yeah, it was more like psychologically, like internally. It taught me a lot. I got to like slow down and kind of regroup and realize what my priorities needed to be moving
Mm-hmm.
forward. You know,
Did you
the
expect it to?
correctional system corrected me. Is what I like
Right.
to tell people.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
It doesn't work for everyone, but
Yeah. Do you feel like most people are not rehabilitated when they go through the system?
it depends on who the person is and the circumstances. I was primed for it to work because I grew up in a family that, even though it wasn't picture perfect, it was positive enough for me to have to know that I had something worth, holding on to and fighting for and wanting to, I wanted to make the people around me proud and do good for myself. I had enough good examples growing up. I really did know better. I just went over the edge. There are a lot of people that I met in that system that there is no hope. They never knew any different than committing a life of crime, and that's just part of their experience. It's like they're not even surprised when a lot of those guys wind up where they are. You
Mm-hmm.
know?
They come in, go back out, go back
Yep.
in.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's sad. And I find that in the United States, I don't know how it is in Canada, but in the United States, they privatized prisons a long time ago, meaning, corporations own the jail.
Yeah.
So it's to their best interest to lobby for the laws to kind of trap people into having to go there because that's what keeps their doors open and keeps their pockets full.
Yeah.
So when you talk to guys that are in like rough neighborhoods in the city, a lot of like minority communities and stuff like that, that whole game is designed to get them fucked up, caught up in whatever they wind up caught up in and end up there and come and keep coming back. And it's pretty sad. It
Mm-hmm.
sucks.
They have like three strike rules for like no matter how small it is, right? And things like that.
Yeah. Yeah, there's laws like that. It varies from state to state. A
Yeah.
lot of the southern states, I imagine, are even more harsh than they are in liberal states.
Mm-hmm.
But
Definitely.
all that being said, I made it through that situation and came out really kind of hungry and ambitious.
Yeah.
Uh, just kind of looking forward to making my mark in a positive way.
Mm-hmm.
Creatively.
So did you start with sort of writing music at first, or was it more engineering?
Before anything we just talked about, I started out in community theater doing stage productions when I was about 5 years old. That was my summer camp.
Wow.
So I was in Cinderella and Wizard of Oz. And
I did similar things actually.
so I had experience with that. And that feeds acting and music and technical. You're getting kind of immersed in the whole world of entertainment.
Yes.
As a result, and it's not. I guess you wouldn't even realize the value that has when you're that young taking it in. But I always think back to it about what I would do in X, Y, and Z scenario because this is what I learned in theater growing up.
Mm-hmm.
So I had that kind of going for me. I even did a little bit of television and film. When I was pretty young, 9, 10 years old. Then my adolescence is when things started to really take a twisty path. So then catching up when I got home from school. It was all about starting a rock band up. I had a couple of little garage bands going before when I was a teenager, but this time I wanted to take it a little more seriously
Mm-hmm.
and just see how far we could push it. And so, we started the Bong Hits for Jesus band, and I guess within like 3 years or so, we were doing pretty well. Mainly just in the Philadelphia area,
Mm-hmm.
locally, kind of having some success and notoriety.
Yeah.
But then it started to go a little bit further. We toured the country a few times, doing club gigs and stuff like that. Had a chance to work with some pretty major artists along the way, and then audio started out as like a means to an end so that I could still pursue music without getting a regular day job. Like,
Right.
all right, I know how to plug microphones in. I think if I can,
Yeah.
I can, I think I can handle it.
I can lay a
And
cable.
that started that started to really open up all a whole different like bunch of doors for me. I was able to start getting gigs with bigger artists as they came through the area. I was able to start taking corporate gigs that could really, really pay my bills.
Mm-hmm.
So now I can kind of breathe a little bit. Now at that point when you start having a little bit of baseline income, it's like, and it's still in the entertainment world. Now I don't feel the pressure that like the very next song has to be the best, greatest one. I don't have to write Abbey Road. I can kind of let it breathe. And
Yeah.
that all kind of led to the new record that Bong Hits just released. So the new Bong Hits for Jesus album, the Universal Language LP, is available now. And that's like the culmination of like a creative process done the way that I really always wanted to, which was
Mm-hmm.
taking my time. The band could come to the studio at my place. They could take the guitar solo 40 times if they felt like it. We weren't on anyone's clock because it was our recording environment.
Right.
We did, there was no deadline. We weren't, nothing was rushed. There was just the urgency of wanting to get to the finish line,
Hmm.
as opposed to we got to release it because we got this show coming up or the release, party is, whatever it is.
You were energized and inspired rather than like on a deadline.
Yeah, 100%.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm really proud of how it came out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
That's
excited about it.
awesome. And I enjoy it, and I encourage everybody to go check it out. I think it's got a lot of really cool sounds on it, and
It's a little bit of a journey.
yeah, definitely. You mentioned that you record at your own base. What are your thoughts on sort of like the going to a studio versus recording on your own thing? Because a lot of people pour money into studios when they could be recording at home.
All right. Well, nothing's for free.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no easy out, no matter what. You've got a Yeti microphone, the cable broke, now we need a better microphone.
Yep.
That is the case as large as you push the scale. That's going to be the case. So it takes money to make money, sort of like, I guess, similar into that, in that reasoning.
Mm-hmm.
Our first two records, we recorded entirely in professional studios. And inevitably, 2/3 of the songs came out fantastic because they were the ones that we rehearsed the living shit out of. We played them 100 times over and over and over again and knew them note for note so that by the time we got to the studio, we could do it in 2 takes. It was like no problem. In the studios, you're on the clock. You could be paying $25, $75, or $150 an hour, depending on the kind of studio you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
No matter what, the last 2/3 or the last third of the record, say, was like fun skit filler sort of stuff, like bells and whistles that we knew we wanted to have in there to make it to make it more fun, to make it more of an adventure. And they always came out a little pale, for lack of a better word, as far as I'm concerned.
What do you feel was missing from that?
Just time.
Yeah.
You really never know. You don't know you don't know what your product's going to sound like until you go through the process with that producer in that equipment, in that environment, and do it. And too often guys will sink a bunch of money into a studio session and either they won't have their material rehearsed enough. They don't realize that they need to involve a metronome for the drummer to keep everything lined up. They won't realize that money, that hourly rate is it's like a taxi meter. I mean, it's going to go through the roof if you're not prepared to make the best use of the time. But the art doesn't want to be rushed sometimes. Maybe you needed another month. Maybe you needed 6 more months. But we get excited. We get so pumped just at the idea of even accomplishing or finishing something that we started,
Mm-hmm.
that we'll rush through it or we'll cheat ourselves and like decide it was good enough when a little bit more attention could have, taken it to the next level.
Right.
We just weren't happy. We weren't doing that this time. And it took a few years.
Wow.
But there was no way. I was not cutting a corner. I'm like, you're going to wait, you're going to wait, you're going to wait. we've got a small fan base, but the people that were there, we knew if we kept them posted and like, we put a video out maybe like earlier the year before, or kept in touch with people, kept playing some live shows and stuff like, so we didn't lose, I don't think, the fan base that we had started over that course of time.
Hmm.
And I hope that they all feel like it was worth the wait now.
Yeah. Well, I think they probably do. I mean, that's a crazy thing that you just explained though. Like that in I like the way that you described that it's an artist cheating themselves because they aren't ready to get into the studio. Was there a point in time where you sort of stopped yourself in your tracks and said, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, I got to slow down here?"
It's conversations that we had as a band.
Hmm.
We were like,
It
well,
wasn't a sudden
that
moment.
could've been better. No, not a singular moment, but as we got closer to starting this last record, it was like, let's have learned from our mistakes, and we invested in the equipment that we needed to be able to do pre-production at home. Just like so I was able to write a lot of these songs with the band in my house
Yeah.
at whatever time of day or night we felt like, and it's not like, and we weren't on anybody else's clock. The cost of it wasn't going up by the hour.
Like you say, a taxi meter.
Yeah, exactly. We were just having a good time and letting the songs kind of unfold, and then contemplating where we wanted one part to go or whatever, and not feeling like there was any pressure on it. And I think that shows in the final product,
Hmm.
as opposed to, that needs a chorus right there, just like every other song ever.
Right.
Like,
Let's fill this in. Like, no.
yeah, let's take some time and like see where the song wants to go. It's a crazy expression that I mean, like, some people kind of laugh at me when I say that, but what does the song want? We've got the initial idea that the universe gave us. Does it feel right? Does it feel like it's agreeing with us going in this direction? Or are we going darker? Are we doing a minor chord progression or a major? Or it's art. It's so it's wide open from there. But there is a right way once something's off the ground, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And comedians will tell you that. They're like, we know this punchline kills, but I can't get the setup where I want, or I can't get the right wording, and they have to do it over and over again to get to the part that kills, to get to the method, the way from A to B that's the most effective.
Yeah.
And it's no different from writing a song.
Same idea the whole way through, but the delivery in the process.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. That's fascinating
I think.
because it's all across
spent
the
so
board.
much time listening to these stand-ups, and I'm like, God damn, I wish I had it.
Yeah.
I wish I could tell a joke. I can make people laugh like conversationally sometimes, but what they do is it's a different art form. But
Yeah.
there's definitely parallels. There's definitely like a common thread if you look at it the right way.
Oh yeah, there is, and it's especially when it comes to creating the art. It's like people, and I've even done it myself, and I've caught myself doing it where if you work on something long enough, sometimes without taking a break, you can convince yourself that something's better than it is, or even convince yourself something's good when it's not. And then I go back to it 2 weeks later, and I'm like, I spent 6 hours on this crap. Like, this is terrible. And I got to be frank with myself, because if it's not good, it's not good.
That's important. And the younger and earlier on you are, like, when you learn that, the more time you're going to save yourself. I'm absolutely in love with some songs that other people that I've written that I just know don't stand a chance.
Right.
Or whatever.
There's that too.
It's like the joke I only get. It's like an inside joke. But knowing when to cut and run. Because if you make a habit out of writing, out of recording, or whatever your art form is, if you have a little bit of an ethic to it, a work ethic to it, the next idea will come. And you just have to keep going.
Exactly.
But you can't control the original idea. That just, it either comes or it doesn't. It's
Yeah,
strange.
you can't control when it does either. You can only control if you write it down or record it or
Right,
not.
right. You gotta capture it.
That's
That's
the
right.
thing. How do you typically record your ideas? Do you write it down or do you use like a voice recorder?
The writing process for me usually starts in a notebook because I'm typically like a lyric and melody first.
Okay.
It's different for everyone, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Um, Lyric and melody first, and if there's music in my head when it first hits, then I'll run to a device to just be like blah 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 blah, just so that whatever the melodic or musical element of it is documented somehow. But I'm in a fortunate place now that as long as I don't lose the lightning, right, that initial thing, um, now we have the tools to sit and chill at home and just kind of start working and fleshing it out right from there. And to know what it's going to sound like the equipment that we're using now is decent enough that I'm actually getting an idea of what the final product might sound like as we're working on the beginning of it.
Hmm.
You know, as opposed to a lot of bands starting out, or even when we started out, you would record it on a tape deck or on a Zoom recorder or something simple, and then practice it, and maybe you hear it back what you recorded live at rehearsal, but you really wouldn't know until you were in the studio and seeing what it sounds like, shiny and polished
Yeah.
and full and all that. Until you wouldn't know until you're there what it's really going to end up as. So,
Mm-hmm.
um, but yeah, I have a hard time not continuing to do it by the notebook. The
Yeah.
notebook is all we had to start with in 1990 or whatever.
Yep.
Um, but also, there's something to the process of writing it down versus typing it that kind of commits it to memory as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that the something about it helps you absorb what it is you're writing down for using in the
Sticks to
future.
your ribs or I guess your brain, whatever, however you
Yeah,
want to say it.
yeah, because eventually you're going to perform these live, and you need to be off the book anyway.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I mean that's just one more way that it helps it kind of imprint.
It does feel better. I do feel that too. Like I write it down on my laptop sometimes and it just doesn't have that same feeling.
Right, and I've done the same. I do have lyric files that I'll type out right on the computer, and yeah, it's a little too sterile. Doesn't
Yeah.
quite the same thing, the
Yeah.
same life to it.
That's
So,
very true. Yeah. And so in terms of your at-home recording setup, what would you say for someone who says, I'm interested in making music, I want a home recording setup that's good enough to release music on streaming? What's a good starting budget, would you say, for someone in that position?
um, depends on what kind of music and how elaborate you want to get. When it comes to rock music, the real crux of it is whether or not you're going to record drums.
Okay.
Because if you're going to record drums, you need enough inputs in your interface to support that and then add the rest of your instrumentation. Whereas if you're recording hip hop, or if you're recording any kind of music that you can do sequenced, like software driven rhythms to,
Yeah.
then how many inputs do you need? Two inputs, you need maybe a vocal and a guitar if you want to add to whatever you've started, maybe a vocal and a keyboard or something like that. That is that's like a real big variance like there between the two,
Yeah.
because an 8-channel interface that'll handle a few mics on the drums and a bass guitar and vocal, they usually are like $500, and then you need the mics and the cables to plug into them. So automatically now we're up into the $1,000 range, versus if you focus on software driven stuff, and that that just comes down to what your taste is really. But if you're married to or drawn to hip hop, R&B, or any kind of like the electronic music, EDM, trap, all that kind of stuff, you can get away with in some cases free or real inexpensive software,
Mm-hmm.
and then just add $100 mic and $100 interface and really be on your way.
Yeah. And we've seen artists blow up that way.
Yeah. So it depends on what it is you're trying, what your end game is, what style you're working in.
Hmm.
Um, but it just, as with anything else, you're going to get out of it what you put into it. There is something to be said for guys that can take a very inexpensive setup and make something great out of it, but that means they took the time to learn how to use all of it to its fullest potential.
Yeah.
And conversely, you can buy $1,000 microphone, and if you don't understand how to engineer it, you could have thrown your $1,000 away, and your stuff could still turn out sounding like trash. So, I mean, get out of it what you put into it, both financially and your time and the work that you want to put into it. You know, because there's no substitute for good engineering, learning the craft. You know, and especially these days, you're expected to be more than just one, to play more than just one role. You're expected, you know, in the current times, you can't just be a singer. You've got to be a singer and a promoter and a singer and a video person and a you know, be able to handle more than just one little thing. And the more time and effort you put into learning the different areas of the business that you're stepping into, the better off you'll be, and the quicker you'll get where you want to go, I think.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And you're also better equipped for the opportunities that will come to you, because if you're not prepared for that now, you're going to get hired for something, and then they're going to want you to have that other criteria as well.
100%.
Yeah, it's and I can relate when you're talking about, you know, like the audio engineering stuff, because I'm sort of in a similar position with photography and video, where I'm sort of trying to do that instead of doing a regular job, and it's opening up other avenues. You mentioned working with some pretty notable artists and having some pretty notable experiences. Can you share any of those that come to mind? I know you were with Snoop Dogg the other night.
I was with Dog the other night.
How
That's
was
right.
that?
That was up there. That was on my list of fun days to
Yeah.
have. That was definitely up there. So I've managed to, both as an artist with Bong Hits for Jesus and as a sound engineer, I've managed to find myself into some pretty high level situations, and I'm pretty blessed. But that's testament to what we just talked about. You know, just keep learning, be open. You want, check the ego, stay humble, because the people at the top of the game have no time to work with anybody who takes themselves too seriously or is not easy to work with.
Yeah.
You've got to be humble and open and just a kind person to start, and know your shit.
Mm-hmm.
The more shit you know, the more tools you have that you can apply when the time comes. And so, yeah, the Snoop Dogg thing was one of my audio engineering gigs that just really kind of came out of nowhere, pretty last minute, actually. He had a concert in Philadelphia and was contracted to perform at a gentleman's club after the concert for a more private party.
Mm-hmm.
And I was hired to put his whole DJ setup together, and the guy that hired me is like contracted with that club, so he knew he wasn't going to be in town, but felt like he could trust me to handle it, and which was flattering. And I think I stepped up, killed it.
That's super cool.
Time doing it too.
That's awesome.
Yeah, man. Other than that, yeah, before that, I've worked with Sublime with Rome, with my band and as an engineer on separate occasions, which was interesting. Yeah.
I'm a big Sublime fan.
They were one of the bigger influences on Bong Hits for Jesus when we were coming up.
I can hear a little bit of that for sure.
You know, a little bit of the reggae rock and a little bit of the punk. You know, maybe we're a little more of an East Coast version, an East Coast answer to what they had going on. But yeah, one of our biggest accomplishments was getting involved in the hemp movement and the legalization movement for cannabis in the United States. I mean, you guys have already, in Canada, hit the promised land as far as we're concerned.
That's right.
We're working on that one state at a time down here, and it's still a battle. In New
Yeah.
Jersey, if you're sick enough, you can go and get medical marijuana.
Mm-hmm.
In Pennsylvania, it's about the same. If you're sick enough, they'll give you medical marijuana, but you've got to pay a shit ton out of pocket to get the license to have it. So state by state, there's still a lot of fight to be had as far as this. And we got involved with the Hemp Heals Foundation. I want to say about 8 years ago. Well, they were putting on concerts every year in Philadelphia, and Bong Hits for Jesus was fortunate enough to open at least three of them in a row.
Nice.
Three, four. So we got to play with Cypress Hill and Sublime and G Love and Slightly Stupid and Pepper. Wow. Just a great list of people that are like-minded enough to have been on that show in the first place, and then, were cool enough to share the stage with us, which, that meant a great deal to us. It meant a lot to us.
I can only imagine.
Yeah, man. So things have been going pretty well, and we're just hoping to keep the ball rolling and hoping to get the music out there as far and wide as we can,
Absolutely. And then you have some awesome stuff to share. You want to plug the record again? I know you definitely want people to go and get it. I don't know what platforms it's on.
Bong Hits for Jesus, bonghitsforjesus.net, I think directs you to like all the rest of our stuff. But Spotify, Instagram, all that kind of stuff has our stuff. And the album is called the Universal Language LP. It is actually inspired in part by one of the earlier Sublime records called Robin the Hood that featured 3 recordings of one of the guy's uncles in a mental institution. I just love the idea of having something come back 3 times. So the Universal Language LP, it consists in small part of 3 different versions of a song called Universal Language. Every one of them's in a different genre, and every one of them's like got its own kind of vibe and feel to it, but with that same unifying factor. Mm-hmm. It's on Amazon, it's on Spotify. You can buy it at our Bandcamp. Pretty much wherever you stream or purchase your good stuff. So we welcome you guys to check it out and say hi to us. Check the Instagram. I think our Facebook page is still up and running, and come say what's up. We hope you guys will enjoy some of the tunes.
Absolutely. Steven, thank you so much for your time. This has been a great conversation.
I appreciate it, Cass, man. Thank you for having me, man. Long live the church.
Yes, shout out Uncle Joey Lee. He kicked that mule.
Yeah, man. All right, brother.